Oh, hello, hello. What is going on, beautiful people? It's Jonathan Jones, and I'm here today to share another mental health moment. Last night, I had a great opportunity to share with Southern Illinois universities, share with the Salukis, and just hanging out with them last night, getting to see just the engagement, getting to see a lot of individuals who are excited about taking steps in their journey towards mental health and overall just their mental well-being. So I want to come here today and just share with you a little bit of a recap and just share how we can break this stigma around mental health, right? How can we break this stigma around just getting information out there and making sure that we do what we need to do to handle our part to not just make sure that we're good, but make sure that everybody else is going forward. And my name is Jonathan Jones. I love to partner with different colleges, universities, and athletic programs, ultimately providing personal development, professional development, and mental health strategies. So this morning, I wanted to just share with you the way that we discuss so many other things, right? When we have a favorite restaurant, we make sure to share that information with other people. When we go and we have a terrible experience about whatever that thing might be, we tell a lot of people. Just like last night, it's no secret, all the debate. And I saw up and down my timeline on Twitter. I saw people saying this about the debate. I saw people saying that about the debate. I saw people talking about the fly on the gentleman's head in the midst of the debate. And we made this fly go viral. Imagine if that's how serious we began to shift the focus and make the priority on our mental health and well-being. So we have to make sure that we normalize the conversation around mental health. Friends, if we don't ever have the conversation with anybody, then the conversation won't be had. So the first thing I want to share with you today is normalize the conversation around mental health. Normalize it just like we normalize that fly. Let's make this conversation go viral. This is how we can begin to take steps and take strides to break this stigma. Just like I said before, the fly went viral. And then after the fly went viral, then we have then we have Joe Biden doing the tweet, and then he has the fly swatter, and then that goes viral. So we're doing all these things and talking about everything else. So let us take our mental health at this high of a priority as well. Do you agree? If you agree, talk to me, comment, chat on YouTube, respond to me on Twitter, reshare this post out, because I want us to understand that it can be a retweet away. It can be a share away. It can be a comment away. And when we begin to pass on this message to a friend, when we begin to get this message out to others, then we can save life. Then we can shift the way that we've been doing life. And ultimately, this is how we began to see growth, how we began to increase awareness, and then get the help for ourselves as well as for others all around us. The second thing that we have to do. I'm in Dallas, Texas, and I go in a lot of places with my parents. They would do a lot of community service. My mom would do accountant type work for many different people, many different companies, and different things like that. And at one point in time, she was doing some work over at Paul Quinn College. It's out in Dallas, Texas. And Paul Quinn has this phrase. I posted a picture probably like a year or so ago when I was at their university doing some work. And they have this sign where it says we, and it has the line, and then it says me, right? So it's we over me. And I wanted to share that just as in certain countries that aren't necessarily America, but in other countries, I believe Asian culture does this. They would wear the mask to not make sure that they were good, but they would wear the mask to protect everybody else from getting the sickness, from getting the cough, or from ultimately contracting whatever they might have at that time. In order for us to break this stigma, we have to take the we over me mindset. We have to prioritize our mental health, but we have to make sure that we prioritize everyone else's as well. We want to make sure that our friends are good. We want to make sure and understand that when we begin to share our story, we then empower other people. And by us empowering other people, now we're good, right? Like people say, there's no I in team, but there's a me. You're right. There is a me in team. So the me is necessary to make sure we get to where we're trying to go. So friends, today I want you to take on the we over me mindset. What can we do together to further the cause? What can we do? Because when there's we, that lightens each and every one of our loads on the. When more of us show up to do a task, that cuts down the time. I learned this a long time ago when I used to do a lot of volunteering, right? And I would be at different places and, can drives, Thanksgiving drives, turkey drive, all that good stuff. I realized sometimes when the people who said they were going to show up didn't show up, I was there for a lot longer than I initially planned. Has anybody else ever been in that situation? Has anybody else? I know it's not just me, right? Showing up to volunteer, and then you realize, well, man, my friend, the ones who said they were supposed to show up, they didn't even come. So now we're here a lot longer than we expected. But then the times where it's multiple friends that show up, you're like, oh wow, man, I wish we could serve a little bit longer because, hey, there's not that much work for us to do because we took the we over me mind. We made it a priority to go serve. We made it a priority to go connect with people in our community. We made it a priority to make sure to get out that message and to get out that word. So taking the we over me mindset. And the last thing I want to share with us today, break the cycle. It's time for us to break the cycle. I was listening to one gentleman speak one day at this conference, and he began to share that as he and his wife were preparing dinner. And this is one of my favorite stories. His wife put the bread within, put the bread in the container to bake it, right? She prepared it. She put the bread in the oven to bake it. She takes the bread out. And the husband said, well, honey, why did you cut off the ends? And she said, I don't know. Mother always did it. She cut off the ends after she baked the bread and then she served it. And he said, well, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Then he called his wife's mom. He said, hey, mother-in-law, I was just talking to my wife. And after she took the bread out, she cut off the ends. And she said, this is what you used to do. This is how you used to bake bread. And he said, why did you do that? She said, I don't know. That's just the way my mother used to do things. So he said, well, I'm gonna call grandma, and I'm gonna see why she used to do it this way. After getting on the phone with grandma, she said, hello. Said, yes, grandma. Said, how are you doing, son? Said, I'm doing excellent. Said, grandma, I have to know, why did you cut off the ends of the bread after you baked it, and you cut off the ends and threw them away? And she said, oh, John, the reason I cut off the ends was because we didn't have a big enough pan, right? So this is a tradition that was passed down from grandmother to granddaughter to daughter, right? And now we're in this position to where we were just doing something just because that's the way it's always been done. My friends, today, in order for us to break this stigma around mental health, we can't just afford to get a ticket, just sign our name and move forward. Get a ticket, sign our name and move forward, because that's the way everybody else has always done these things. That's the way we've always moved around. It's time for us to ask the questions. It's time for us to break the cycle. It's time for us to say, I want to change things in my life so that my kids will have the opportunity to start healthier. I want to question certain things in my life because I know that I'm better for my kids and for their kids and for their kids. If we never take the time to ask the question, we'll never get the answer that we're seeking. I was reading a quote the other day by Albert Einstein, and the quote simply reads just like this: no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness in which it was created. Basically, what that quote means is ultimately, if you sitting in this situation, you getting put in this funk, you getting put in this challenge, and you facing a struggle, and you're realizing, oh no, I'm sinking in quicksand. You're not going to be able to outthink yourself on how to get out of the quicksand. You need to change your environment. You need to change some of your habits. You need to change maybe how you got here. I was sharing with the students just the other night. I was saying that when I was sitting there, I got down on myself, and then I began to open a bottle. And then once I opened that bottle, I began to drink. I began to drink, and I began to drink. And the thing that we will always realize is that if we're not in our sober and right mind, we can't expect to make solid decisions, right? That's just not the way that it works. If my mind is inebriated, and the more that I'm out of my mind, the less amount of credibility and even the fact of the decision just making sense. It won't make sense. So today, friends, how do we break the stigma on mental health? First, we have to normalize the conversation. We have to get back to having the conversation and prioritizing our mental health. Just like I said before, we share everything else. We share posts that make us laugh. We share posts that make us cry. Now let's share posts that can save somebody's life, because that's what it will take to normalize this conversation. Take on the we over me. Taking on the we over me looks like us beginning to share our story. So we can do these things for the greater good. And it starts by me taking the first step forward by sharing, me taking the first step forward by seeking counseling, me taking the first step forward by getting more information. So we over me. And then lastly, we have to break the cycle. We have to begin to ask questions that nobody else asked. We have to begin to seek solutions that nobody else may have ever known. But ultimately, breaking the cycle is putting the next generation in position to where they can do better. We've all heard it said before. When people say, I want to be like my mom, I want to be like my dad, they always say, don't be like me, be better. So that's the challenge today. That's the charge today. How can you be better for your little ones? How can you be better for the people that you mentor? How can you be better for the children that you coach? How can you be better for the people that you're connected to? Because ultimately, my friend, that's the only way we'll begin to break this stigma. By normalizing the conversation, putting the we over the me, and then sharing and asking questions so that we can break the cycle. My name is Jonathan Jones. I would love to partner with you. I would love to see how I can serve and support you. And if there's anything that I can do to be a resource for you, or if you're like, John, let's lock in a time. Let's see how I can book you to speak. I'd encourage you to visit my website, jonathanjonespeaks.com/speaking. And I would love to see how I can, in growing, in gleaning, in shining. Until next time, until we meet again, my friends, just want to remind you to speak your success, believe in your greatness, and continue to create the life and business of your dreams. Why would you want to live any other